Order of business, any changes to it? I believe we will have 2 executive sessions tonight. Prior minutes, we have none. I'll need a motion for the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through G.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0. Issues from persons not on the order of business. Donna?
Thank you very much. It has been busy upstairs with advanced voting. It's been very exciting to see the turnout. People have been marvelous waiting in lines. This morning we started at 8 a.m. Last week it was 7 a.m. So there's a little confusion with that. So I had several people that were waiting until 8 a.m. to vote. And there were lines the whole time that we were open. Friday, the girls served almost 500 people with voting, advanced voting. It was a big, busy place. People were very cordial in waiting and very complimentary to my staff, and I do appreciate that. The turnout, Saturday I announced 31%. The girls have put in figures of our over 200 up there this morning, and also what was received in the drop box. Right now, Ellis County is at 34% turnout. That is amazing.
Wow.
Amazing. So, you know, you can still vote. Tomorrow is Election Day, November the 3rd. So go to your poll site from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Don't forget your voter ID. That's very important. So I hope everybody will get out and vote. I do wish to announce that I personally spoke to all but I think a couple I'm still working on, but everybody has been agreeable to wear face masks. And I have county personnel that's going to share some of the protection covers, so I do appreciate that. So we'll have that option because the election board workers are going to have a long day. They're all going to report at 6:15 a.m. tomorrow morning, and they'll be there until 7:30 or 8 tomorrow night. I don't allow anybody to leave. They bring their lunch and whatever they want to drink throughout the day. So set up, I want to tell Public Works Director Bill Ring, he has a super group. Every time they set up things, go to the 9 poll sites and set up all the equipment, the tables, everything. They handled it very well today, and I compliment them and thank them big, because that helps us in a big way. It was busy enough in our office with the voters. And my board workers supervisors picked up their supplies tonight. So everybody's gearing up for tomorrow's being a big election. So if anybody has any questions at all, please give our office a call. I will be in the office, and the phone will start at 6:15. So we'll have people there if there's any questions at all. But there's a lot of information on the website. So check out the website tonight if you'd like, and give us a call if you do have any questions at 628-9410. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hey, Don, I have a couple questions for you just from that statement. One from a voter that came to me who had moved to Hayes recently, works out at the college, and wanted to know if he was registered. I showed him online, but you might do that because you talked about going to your polling place, which is something that you need to do. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to account for you. You're going to have to get a provisional ballot. It creates a headache for us, and it'll create a headache for you. So you might talk about where they go online and how they look up whether or not they're registered, what they're registered as, and what their polling site is.
And also available is that you can actually see the ballot that you qualify for. You know, not everybody's going to get to vote for the 2 commission districts. You have to live in that district. So check out that ballot. Get in on the website, lsco.net, go under government, go under election. Go down where it says poll sites, And voter view, it's very clear on the website. And click on there, you click your last, your first name, your date of birth, and you get into it all. And it's all very accessible,
Okay.
you know. And we're glad to take calls if people have questions. Now, you addressed if they move, they have to do a provisional, what we call a provisional vote. At that same time, we get that voter registration updated, changes their name or their address in the meantime.
Okay, and then this is definitely a 2020 question for elections and coronavirus question. But you talked about face mask wearing. Currently, the city of Hayes has a face mask ordinance, but throughout the county, not as much at some of our other polling sites. One thing that happens to me all the time is I go places and I forget my face mask. And what is the ruling? I believe the Attorney General came down and said, you know, you can't be turned away from voting for not wearing a face mask. So we don't want you to not go vote if you're there to vote and you happen to realize you forgot your face mask. Apologize, stay 6 feet away from people. You don't even have to apologize, but feel free to get in there and vote. We don't want people to be suppressed by the idea of having to wear a face mask. You know, although that is what's going on in the city of Hayes in terms of their ordinance, so.
Right, right. And, you know, like you said, we have 9 poll sites. 2 of those are in Ellis and Victoria. They do not have any mandates to wear face masks. But you're going to see most of our workers in those 2 locations that are
I
going
think
to.
from our perspective, we like to have them in a face mask. Okay.
Right, right. So
Last
aware of it.
last thing you said, a voter ID. What's the appropriate IDs that a person can use when they're going to vote?
Sure. Most people just use their driver's license, but 2020, what that brings is the state has not issued all the new ones, new driver's license, issued updated ones because of their process with the COVID-19. So they're saying anything, if it expired this year, we're supposed to recognize it. We're not supposed to deny it. So that has been a clear message to my workers. So they will be able to recognize, you know, licenses through the Driver's License Bureau that have expired, but the state is still working on.
Okay. And then the last thing, we've had a bit of confusion over the last couple weeks with a law about electioneering. And I think it should be important for people to know that electioneering is an important law. It's a criminal law. It's a misdemeanor, but when you go to the polls, you cannot wear your Trump things. You cannot wear your whatever candidate you're going for. You need to be in clothing that does not have that on. You also can't have signs on your car. You can't do these kind of things because within 200 feet or 250 feet. 250 feet of your polling place, that is not supposed to be going on. We do not want to suppress the vote. We don't want to cheat. We don't want to be doing last second campaigning. People should have their mind made up on their way there.
Right. The law does not allow you to do any type of electioneering within that 250 feet of the entrance to the election poll site. When we did advance voting up here, the law was effective also.
Exactly. Okay. That's it for me.
Okay. Any question, Dean?
I have none.
Okay, moving on. Do we have any introduction of new employees? Everything looks good out there. Okay, next will be the China virus update. Jason?
Good evening, Commissioners.
Evening.
We'll have Bruce short tonight. You know, it's kind of been the same thing. We've talked about this before. It's the same thing on and on again. I will say cases are up. Really nationwide, cases are really up in Western Kansas. I guess I should introduce myself. Jason Kennedy, Health Service Director.
Welcome.
I will say Ellis County has fared fairly well. We saw our peak really early on in the summer. We've kind of just had a consistent increase. We've averaged around between 8 and 14 cases a day for our 7-day averages for really the last couple of months. So it's been consistent with that. We haven't seen a drastic increase. We've seen a drastic reduction in hospitalizations because it's passed through the long-term care facilities, and the long-term care facilities are now on kind of a recovery status. So thankfully, we do have, we've kind of been through that. The long-term cares have done a phenomenal job, and we've talked about, I've got the utmost respect for the job they've done and for what the patients and families have endured. So the hospital capacity, I don't talk about it. I will talk about the fact that our active hospitalizations are down, and they stand at 3 for Ellis County. I will say statewide, if we look at statewide data, there's been a big push again here for overwhelming the healthcare system, and you see it every day on the news. Kansas healthcare system is not overwhelmed. I don't see it completely being overwhelmed. I don't see that as a conceivable probability. They're still able to do non-elective surgery or elective surgeries. They're still able to do elective procedures, which means that they are not at crisis capacity. So as we look across the state, KDHE numbers are, oh, you guys can't see them. Only I can see them. You guys can't see that. There's charts and stuff. It's neat. As we look at the hospital capacity really across the state, ICU bed availability is 40% across the state. There are 110 ICU beds that are used by COVID-19 patients. This is not just Ellis County, by the way. So when this goes out in the paper, we don't have 110 people in the hospital with COVID in Ellis County. This is statewide. And we've got sufficient ventilator capacity. We've got everything. We have sufficient capacity. Hospitals have surge capacity. So I'm not concerned at this point with hospital capacity. So we do have the holidays coming up. I know Dr. Fauci canceled Thanksgiving. I don't plan on doing that in Ellis County. We do need people just to be smart, make good decisions. You know, if you have an elderly loved one that's significantly at risk, and you're bringing a bunch of family, or you've got a big family gathering, maybe making different choices for them, or maybe interacting with them in a more one-on-one capacity, or something that we can push that social distancing and really make those individual choices. So. Yeah, Thanksgiving's not canceled in Ellis County. Just make good choices, make smart choices. Same thing as people did on Halloween. I saw them really, people spaced out well. They tried to distance as much as possible. I saw mask use. I saw people, just making good choices there. So as we look at the future, COVID's not going away. We've talked about that. Actually was on a call today. The guy was like adamant that it was going to end after the election. I do not share his optimism for that. I think COVID will continue after the election, and we've got to continue to deal with it. So comes down to personal choice, people making good decisions and doing what you can to protect yourself and others. You guys have any questions on that?
I don't have any.
I have one quick question. Had quite a few people reaching out to me about antibody testing.
Sure.
And what they can do if they sense that they may have had COVID-19 and are recovered from it. And all that's really been said to me is if you donate blood, they'll check you for it. But so that's a good push for the Red Cross.
Sure.
But what's the thought process on that? And if somebody believes they did, what would they do?
So for starters, donate blood. The Red Cross is a great organization. We always need blood. They always have a shortage. So whether you're going there strictly for the antibody test or not, go ahead and give blood while you're at it. The Red Cross is also looking at some programs with convalescent plasma. We've heard about the convalescent plasma, so they're looking at Red Cross is using some of their antibody testing. I will be honest, I'm not 100% sure they're doing it here in town. I'll look into that. But I know in the state they are looking at using that antibody test, getting those people back in to draw that convalescent plasma, so we do have a supply of that. So the Red Cross is a great organization. Now, with the antibody testing specifically, I still have not seen that our antibody tests are extremely reliable or extremely specific for COVID-19. They are getting better. They are better tests. If you're a positive on an antibody test for COVID-19, could you have had COVID-19? Sure. Is it 100% that you did? No. Should it change the way that you go out and interact in your daily life? No. Even if you did have it, You still have to protect yourself. We do know that you can contract the virus again, not in a, we believe it to be a 3-month window. I think the earliest documented reinfection currently is around 4.5 months. But so the antibody testing is not really a get out of jail free card or a change anything. Now, if you had COVID within the last, if you think you had COVID within the last 6 weeks or so, let's say, you had symptoms, you had loss of taste and smell, you had all of the symptomology that goes with COVID, and then you go in and get an antibody test and it shows positive for COVID-19 antibodies, likely you had COVID-19. You still need to be smart, you still need to protect yourself because it's not a definitive test. Now, if you were asymptomatic the entire time and you're like, you know what, I know Susie had it, I was around Susie that day, and I probably got it, wait 6 weeks, go get an antibody test, and you test positive, it doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
It just, unfortunately, it just doesn't.
So one thing I will say is that the one person is a resident here in Hayes who did test positive for antibodies and had their blood taken here. So that might be a good sign for that they're doing it here. The other question that arose to me when this was brought up to me was data and how we're trying to wrap our mind about our real caseload and what it's been and how much closer we are to creating some sort of herd immunity. I know we're far from it. I know you've said that, but I wonder how you guys, if you're getting any of that data and if you're able to compile it in any way that helps us get a better scope of what this virus has done.
Specifically with the antibody data, we get some of it.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't have a better answer for you, and I don't know how much some is. We just get some of it because we see them come through, but it's very, very infrequent that we get very many of the antibody tests. Now, there's 2 types of antibodies. There's IgG, IgM. I won't go into a long dissertation because I know you guys love hearing me talk, but one of the testing, the IgM, we actually do investigate that as a case. If they're symptomatic, it corresponds with that, then we would investigate that as a case, try to figure it out with them, whether they're currently positive or whatever. The IgG, we don't do much with those because that's the long-term antibodies. Those are long duration. You would be outside your infectious window. So we haven't done much with the antibody testing, and I'll be honest, the state hasn't compiled a bunch of antibody testing either that I know of. So I do know they are doing the antibody testing in town with the Red Cross. I'm just not sure if they're doing the convalescent plasma follow-up to try and get people to come back in. I'm not sure they're doing that here.
And that is for treatment of COVID patients,
Yeah,
right?
it's one of the new kind of emerging therapeutics. Not necessarily a treatment per se, but it is a therapeutic that they're looking into.
Okay. That's it from me.
Dean?
I have nothing.
Okay, Jason, thank you.
Yep.
Keep up the good work.
The second thing I have tonight, which you guys see before you, is an agenda item for purchase of new durable medical equipment for Ellis County EMS. What we're looking to purchase is a new power load system and a new cot system for the ambulances. As you can see, we purchased cots and then power load systems later on, all between 2010 and 2014. All of those units were purchased at the same time. So we're starting to see similar failure patterns in them as we're looking at that. I would like to get out of a situation where we have to replace everything at one point. We did have budgeted this year $160,000 for replacement of ambulance cots. However, last year, we actually had Stryker come out. They went through, they did a bunch of mechanical maintenance stuff, replaced some wear parts, and I will say our crews do a phenomenal job of taking care of this equipment. So I do think that we can start to stagger these in. So what you see tonight is an ask for purchase of 1 power load system for the ambulances and 1 new cot system that would be placed in the new ambulance that we should be getting here in November. That'll allow us to migrate one of our problematic systems out of the service and then look at putting this into our CIP as a kind of a reoccurring replacement structure to where we don't get into a situation where we've got $200,000 worth of purchases that come due in 1 year. Mm-hmm. These cot systems are actually really neat. They actually lift the patient up and down on their own. They load them into the ambulance. So they're a lot safer. We made the initial investment in them because of the safety for the crews and for the patients, and now we're just kind of starting to see that they're reaching that end of life.
So with this kind of system, Jason, the ambulance workers don't have to lift the cots and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
The system does that?
Yeah.
Does-
Once there's still obviously movement in and out of the house. We still have to carry the cot up and down stairs, stuff like that. But the cot itself will actually go all the way from about 8 to 10 inches off the ground, and then it will come up to full height. Once we get them to the truck, then it actually locks into like a carrier system that will pick that entire cot up, and then they just kind of softly roll them in there. So they're a lot safer, really for the patient and for the crew, in that it's a captured system, so the cot doesn't fall or you don't slip on ice or something like that. So yeah, they're a neat system. They've worked really well for us. It's just, we're at the point where some of that mechanical stuff is starting to become problematic.
And funding for this would be a part of that $160,000 you have in capital outlay?
Yeah, we have sufficient funds in our CIP for this, and then, like I said, I actually plan to rework this CIP funding that will actually allow us to be solvent for much, much longer into the future with some of these changes. So,
Sure. Okay.
Jason, I imagine there's some fail-safes on these systems and that you have a few ambulances that are getting more use than others, and that's probably the ones we have to attack first.
yeah, so we actually we've had to move some of the systems. We've had to move them to different ambulances as we get new ambulances into the system, and so I would like to get us to a replacement structure where the cot and power load system are new with the new unit. That means they would all be in service for 10 years, and we don't transfer a problem. Sometimes keeping track of some of that stuff. So we take a 10-year-old power load system and put it in a brand new ambulance. Well, now we've transferred that issue. So I won't be able to get us to that completely because we'll have to replace them a little bit quicker. But as we do bring new ambulances in, I would like to look at purchasing to replace older units, and that way that can stay with the truck through its service life with us.
Sure. Dean, any questions?
I think he covered them all. Good job, Jason.
And Jason, if one of these fails, we're still able to get a person up into
Sure.
the ambulance. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, no, they do have a backup manual system.
Okay.
They will still work.
I don't want
it
us to have
just
to
is-
send another
It
ambulance.
comes manual, and now that our guys have, we've had the luxury of it, myself included, when I was in the field. When you do have one fail, it makes the whole call terrible because now you have to pick the cot up. But yeah, they
So
do
we're
still
saving
work.
paramedics' backs with these things.
Actually, there is a bunch of documented evidence to show that your risk of back injury and your cost associated with it is significantly lower with these systems. The other question that we added to this was adding Stryker to our sole source purchasing agreement. There's other cots that build these systems. However, all of our ambulances have to be interoperable. I can't have one system in one truck because if that truck's down, I have to move the cot or whatever. Or if we have two ambulances out on an EMS call, we've got one patient on a cot, but this ambulance is blocked in. Everything has to be interoperable for us. And that doesn't exist with different types of systems. So we have to stick with Stryker now that we've made that initial investment.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I move the commission approve the purchase of one new Stryker brand power load system and Stryker brand power cot assembly, and that Stryker Medical be added to the sole source purchase list.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jason.
Jason.
Okay, the next agenda item is to consider the CDBG virus program. Lyle.
Good evening, Commissioners. Lyle Pantel, Assistant Director, Fire and Emergency Management. So, back what feels like decades ago, in June, you had approved for us to proceed with applying for the CDBG-CV funding from the state. And we were awarded the $132,000 at this time, with the CARES funding starting to get wrapped up and get pushed out to the community. We've felt that it's appropriate for us to move forward with the CDBG funding and allow those who kind of felt like they missed out or were excluded the opportunity to try and get some, recoup some funds for the shutdown that happened. As you can see in the discussion area, we would like to post the applications to the website, which has been designed, and open that up on the 4th. We'll accept the applications all the way through up December 7th, so about a month there. And then our review process will be completed by Doug Williams and his committee of the Grow Haze. And we will have those final recommendations back to the commission just after the first of the year. We would like to recommend that our micro grants, which are going to be for businesses from 0 to 5 employees, that's going to be about $42,000. And depending on the number of applications, our award amounts will range between $3,000 and $5,000. For our economic development grants, those businesses that have 6 to 50 employees, awards will total $90,000. And again, depending on the applications, award amounts will be from $5,000 to $7,000. There's going to be no impact to the budget of this, as we've decided to administer the entire thing in-house. So it's just the time that I would normally be paid for.
Okay.
Looks good.
Attached, you can see some of the application documents. We have the certification of low to moderate income, the business application, whether you're doing the micro grant or the economic development grant, an agreement regarding duplication of benefits to make sure that no one is double dipping, and we don't want to be liable for that. And then also the final draft of our flyer that will be available on this website as well for people to browse at their leisure.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners?
I do have one.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so a couple questions and one statement, I guess. The first question is, these are CDBG, so they require an income, low to moderate income from the applicant, correct?
Correct.
And so the grants will be awarded, is it similar to CARES on loss of income or things of that nature, or are they designed for mitigation of COVID-19, or what is it?
They'll be able to use these for multiple things, but the primary things are for capital expenses such as wages and payroll, rent, utilities, or inventory necessary to open after being closed. If anybody was still closed, they could use it for that purpose.
Okay. And then the statement, I guess, comes from the Grow Haze agreement. I really appreciate that they agreed to do this. I think they did a good job last time. But man, they took a lot of hell for something that we all knew was nearly an impossible thing to do. I hope this one's a little easier for them. Imagine it will be because of the nature of the application process. But I would ask the community to give a little more leeway to this group of people who don't get paid anything to do this, who are just trying to make the best decision for the public. Some of the things that were said about Doug and that group of people were just ridiculous, and I think I've said my piece with those people, but I imagine as we go through another process, I just want to preemptively say I will probably send you an email if I think you are being unreasonable with an unpaid group of people that are just trying to help out through a process and a tough time. So that's it from me.
Okay.
I just had one quick question. Restaurants are able to apply for this again, correct, if they didn't do it in round one?
Correct.
Is that my understanding?
This is for for-profit
Okay.
businesses.
I just had one individual call me, and I said, I believe that's correct. So thank you. That's all I had.
Okay.
Lyle, I had one more question that arose from that because we're talking about the idea of double dipping. If a business has taken advantage of a PPP loan or a EIDL loan or any CARES Act funding, they are not eligible for a CBDG loan, right?
Yeah, they cannot
Okay.
duplicate any benefits, and we do have a spot on both applications for them to mark if they've had any kind of SBA loan, a city, Network Kansas Hire, Chamber of, any kind of additional funding. That way we can maybe assist those who haven't had any of those opportunities or were unable to capitalize on them.
You know, there was a big surprise to me in the CARES Act, and I don't know if it's just the nature of the people that we were dealing with in it, but the cosmetology industry was not well represented in that. And I don't know if they've been able to utilize those other things, but I would say of the cosmetologists that are in this county, if you took some hit from this and you haven't taken advantage of any of these things, I think this is perfect. As long as you can qualify for all the things. I think our big deal, even though it's a much smaller amount of money, is finding people that haven't done something else and also qualify on their income. So it's kind of a weird time for this grant because the qualification of income would make me think that you would be searching all over everywhere to try and get some help through COVID-19. And if you haven't yet, this is perfect for you on the back end, and we want to get you some help to get through this. So,
Very good. Gentlemen, do I hear a motion?
I move the commission approve the application timeline and review of practices necessary to move forward with the CDBG CV funding.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Lyle.
Thank you. I also have one more item, not on the agenda, but it is, we applied for a Midwest Energy grant of $1,000, and we were awarded that $1,000 by Midwest Energy. And it has been the fire department's practice of late to bring any grants to you for approval. And with this money, we would like to purchase cam lock fittings, which would assist the fire department in getting water supplies from other means other than other fire trucks, fire hydrants, such as oil field operations or agriculture, since they use more of those type of fittings.
If you believe that's what's necessary, I think it'd be a good idea.
I think it looks great for our rural fire department. I mean, it says $1,000. Is that about what they run? I mean, is it how many are you getting for $1,000?
So we should have, that should cover hopefully cover the cost of supplying the rest of our fire trucks
Oh, wow.
with 3 more fittings each. We've already taken the steps and purchased one of those fittings.
I imagine you guys find yourself in those situations a lot where you have a water source but no way to hook up to it.
It does happen from time to time, and having those other means is definitely beneficial for us, especially in the more rural parts of the county where we have a lot more agriculture or oil field operations going on.
Yeah. Well, thank you to Midwest Energy for that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lyle.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, the next agenda item is to consider a lease agreement and property modifications at the Early Fire Department with the City of Shenshin. Commissioner Hazelhorst.
Yes, Kyle, if you'd like to make your way up here also. As you both of you guys know, we approved the funding for the City of Shinchin to build a new city hall, of which they'd never have had down there. I guess it's been years ago. Kyle's got a handout for us. Recently, when I attended their city commission meeting, Kyle let me address that a little bit, and after the meeting, there was probably, I don't know, there was a group of us that went over and looked at the fire station and where that facility would be constructed, and it's, I feel it's a win-win situation for Ellis County. I know Kyle's been doing a lot of work with it, getting price on buildings, contractors for cement, just dirt work and everything that he's been working on so far. And after touring that evening with them guys, it's a very win-win situation for Darren and the fire department and his group down there. He's got a good young group of firemen down there, and they've also agreed to do the bathroom, make it ADA accessible, and help out with that stuff and a lot of other things there, which would also free up a stall for Darren if he chooses one of these days to put another fire truck in Shinchin. The garage door is all framed out. It's just gonna be a matter of taking the tin off of it and putting a door in, and he could house another fire truck down there. So after touring this with Kyle and the group, whenever that was, a month or so ago already, I think it's a real win-win situation. I know Kyle was under a little bit of a timeline to get everything done that he had to do. I know he had surveyors out there and everything, and it all worked out, got put together. Thank you, Kyle, for your hard work, and I'll let you address the commission.
Sounds good. As Dean said, my name's Kyle Zimmerman. I'm a councilman with the city of Shinchin and a captain for Rural Fire Company 8 out there in Shinchin as well. Back in August, September, we applied for the CARES Act to put up a 30 by 40 building. As you can see in the aerial image, the building with 108 over the top of it is our existing fire station there in Shinchin. The structure we applied for through the CARES Act was to be attached to the south side of that structure, to be double used by both the city of Shinchin for somewhat of a city hall, as well as a meeting and training room for Rural Fire Company 8. Construction is set to start immediately. I know some of our guys were out there working on grade and things like that today because we are in a time crunch for the end of the year. Attached on there as well, the second sheet, James Mice was out with Driggs Designs and got us an official survey on that property Friday morning last week. So we knew exactly where our property lines were. Looking at that survey, it shows that there's 48 and a half feet from the south side of our building to the south property line. And the building that we're adding is 40 foot in length, whereas the roof pitch will not be able to match up with the existing building due to it being obsolete. We'll have to have a 4-foot breezeway between the two buildings to connect them. So essentially, we'll need 44 feet from the back of the fire station. We as a city maintain and I guess are entitled to the 20-foot alley that you see listed on the bottom of that survey as well. And meeting with Mason Reuter and applying for our zoning permit, we as a city council are prepared to abandon or vacate that alley if need be to be able to allow for us to stay within the zoning regulations. I met with Bill Ring last week. The grader parks adjacent to this property, southwest of here, on some city of Shinchin property in all non-winter months. And they have a fuel skid that's there. The grader's been able to stay there, like I say, free of charge. That's just been an agreement we've had with the county for years. I believe that there still will be room on the west side of this building to allow for the grader to park there safely. We do offer a 110 outlet for them in the winter for block heater, as well as a hydrant if they so need to wash anything off or anything of that matter. So that we will still work out with Bill Ring or whoever would be in charge of that, I suppose. I know that Bill is working on a lease or possible easement for the city of Shinchin, since we applied for this money and this property is under county ownership where the existing building is. Our existing building has an office and bathroom in it that does not meet ADA specifications. We are going to abandon that office and make both the office and the bathroom into one room to allow optimal room for those guidelines and to allow all public to be able to use those facilities. After working with the administrator the last 2 months and kind of going through everything, we as a city determined it was within our best interest to come to you guys formally and propose approval to move forward with this project. And we would appreciate your permission and support through this.
Gentlemen, I have a lease agreement here in front of me. I read through it. And
I have also.
do we need a motion to accept this lease agreement?
We do.
Any questions, concerns?
I tell you what, I think this was one of the things that came along in the CARES Act that I thought was great. You know, we could jump ahead of future expenses for Shinshin. We could figure out a way to get a problem solved. I think we were kind of lucky in the sense that we got it okayed because it was about us separating people and spreading them out in your city building. The big question I have is for Bill, I guess, is that we got a spot for that grader. And if we're good with that, I mean, I think this was one of the projects I thought was great, that you guys were able to come up with something that could mitigate expense over time and get you guys up to the level of what I think you needed in Shinshin. Because right now you don't have a very big city building.
Well, we've rented, the city building that we used to have was about a third of this room.
Yeah.
And it got tore down 20 years ago. So now for the last 20 years, we've been renting a room from the local parish.
Yeah.
And we keep our stuff, you know, at people's houses as far as files and whatever else. So just to have everything in one place just makes a lot more sense for the long term.
That's a mess. and
Especially where it can be used by both rural fire and the city of Shinshin.
I think so too. The rural fire aspect is huge for us. I know for trainings and things like that. I have a brother who's a chief at a rural fire department, and they built a big shed. They're not funded the same way that our fire department is, but I tell you what, they need that room. In fact, for fundraisers and things like that, it's important, very important for them, the room that they have for training and things like that. So you guys don't have to come into Hayes all the time to do training. I think it's
Absolutely.
another good aspect.
And I don't know what, I haven't seen the lease, I guess, that Bill put together. We do have a meeting,
Copy, I'll give you this.
not next Monday, but the following Monday. So we will go ahead and approve that as well. And if we need to vacate the alley to allow optimal room for public works or for zoning regulations, that'll get done at that meeting as well. And I can get those, or that paperwork to you, or whatever you need there.
That'd work fine.
Okay.
Bill, what do you think on that grade? You got room there?
Kyle, you can take this with you so you can look it over if you choose.
Bill Ring, Public Works Director. As Kyle indicated, we've been working together, and it's actually Kurt and I were down this morning looking it over again, and I multiple phone calls. My environmental office, being Mason, we require a 10-foot property line setback. Right now, the building is framed up around 5 or 6. I don't want to, so if they give us the 20-foot alley, our property line will extend to 20 foot, we have no zoning issues. Either way, we're going to have a place to park the grader, whether we put it in that, where they give us the alleyway now, it would be 20 foot by 70 foot. We could park it there. We're looking at the potential of moving it into the water department lot it's catty corner to it where our fuel tank sits now. It's where we keep the big wing plow. So there's plenty of room. We make it work out, and we're talking about adding electricity to the power pole because we now have our fuel tank, rural fire's fuel tank. I'd like to see him put one of those overhead that the utility companies put in a light, so that for security, for safety, if Company 8 has to fill fuel in the middle of the night after a fire, it's going to be lit up for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, as long as we get the alley vacated, it'll clear up all the problems.
Perfect.
And it's not a through alley. The alley dead ends at what would be the rear of,
That 110 lot.
which would be with the restaurant bar that's next door.
Yep.
So it's not like we're blocking, or we're going to be blocking it. We're just going to cut it short by the width of the property line. So I think we're all in agreement at Public Works, and talked to the grader operator. I mean, he's been down there 10 years. So we'll make it work. I mean, it's going to fit fine, no issues. We just need to clarify, because I know they want to pour concrete Wednesday morning for,
It might even be an economic development piece for that bar and grill.
it could.
We
I
get
mean,
some rural firefighters training close.
so other than that, no, I think we're all covered. We've all been working together to make it, because of the time crunch. JD and I went down and spent Couple hours Friday afternoon, meeting with Kyle. So I think we all have a clear understanding, and it should work out to everyone's, the city, the county, the fire department, road and bridge. We're all going to come out in good shape on it.
Hopefully they were all easy to work with, Kyle. Okay.
Anything else?
Gene, any
Nothing
questions?
from me.
I have none, nope.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve this lease?
I'll make a motion to approve the lease agreement and property modifications at Rural Fire Department with the city of Shinchin.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Okay, next would be County Administrator Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I have a few things for you this evening. The first is Ellis Cares update. We now have, in October, we added to September's number of payments. September, we were $661,000. In October, we issued $2.2 million in payments, so that brings us to about $2.9 million. Our total amount of funding is 5.7, of course. Most of that funding was out to what we consider transfers, so it went out to schools and to businesses and to nonprofits. A big chunk of what remains is in what we might consider our reimbursements. So we have a big number in county expenditures that are in the works, and we are busy purchasing quite a bit of material and items for the computer-aided dispatch system. Just a flurry of activity between Mike and Darren, ordering computers, monitors, routers, antennas, and all sorts of things that are necessary for that project. So all that is well underway. Probably the big thing that I've been concerned about, I keep asking about, is we've got some demolition that has to be done inside of the dispatch room or next to it for the shower area where some of the equipment's going to go. And so getting that bid out and then actually executed, I understand that an award has been set on that, and so that's moving forward. So anytime you have this construction or demolition, that's always a source of potential delay in the project, which we don't want to have. So all that seems to be moving forward. Still, the goal is to have everything in place by December the 2nd. The other thing that's going on is that continue to have quite a few phone calls from some of our various recipients working on logistics of what they need. Does this work? Does that work? And that type of thing. Also, by the next meeting, I am hopeful to bring to you the listing. I've been compiling a listing of folks that have inquired, okay, if there's extra money left, what do we do? And I've mentioned this to you many times before, but it's a relatively short list, but I'll bring that to you. My goal is to bring that to you at the next meeting so you can consider that and continue on with that. We also have just a few. I've got one that hasn't responded, so there may be some clawback that we will be able to do where we pull money back that was previously allocated that you all can choose to allocate toward that other group that I was just mentioning just a moment ago. So that's my goal, to have that to you by the next meeting. Also coming up next week also is our October report is due, and it's more complicated than or complex than the first report. The second report, we've got to put it in the format that they wish and different types of totals. So, and with $2.2 million going out the door, there's quite a bit of assembling of data. So I'll be busy on working on that for the next few days. Switching gears, we have received a formal notice of intent to renew the lease by ABBB upstairs. And so I've received that in, and we'll begin negotiations relatively soon on that. We're going to take a look at the footprint that they're renting and the cost per square foot. On another note, the Northwest Corridor negotiations continue regarding the right-of-way. Bill Ring and Buck Driggs are working on that. Our goal at this point is to perhaps ask for an executive session at the next meeting to discuss the right-of-way agreements that have been discussed with the various property owners so far. Let's see. Also, I'm corresponding with Hess. You might recall we had that scheduled for them to come and make a check presentation, and so I've reached out to them, and I haven't yet heard back as of this meeting tonight. We've had also, Bill and I have had quite a bit, and Mason, quite a bit of activity regarding the extraterritorial jurisdiction. There's a number of matters that have come to light, and we're really taking a deep dive on that and seeing if we can come up with not only a clear understanding between the parties that are involved in it, but perhaps identify potential solutions for resolving some of those issues that exist. The Safety Committee has met. We met just this past week. They're considering recommending a panic system. I think that they've visited with you all in the past about a panic system toward the end of the last year. And so they're discussing the potential for perhaps a phase-in where a little bit is done each year and as money allows for that. As I anticipate us having something back to you all relatively soon on that. Also, the Wage and Benefit Committee is coming up on their biannual reorganization. And so I am kind of hosting the annual election. And so we've sent out invitations to people that were interested in serving on that group, and received some interest back. And we anticipate sending ballots out by, I believe it's next Monday. So that is in works, and that's the conclusion of my report.
Okay. Any questions?
I have a couple, actually, from that. On that biannual reorganization, you might give an update just to the public so they understand what that Wage and Benefits Committee does and how they're elected. As you said, you're preparing the ballot. Is it that our employees have to express a desire to be on that committee, and then their peers within their departments vote on who they want to represent them?
Yes, so this committee was set up some time ago when we previously had unions, and this committee was set up in lieu of having unions. And the idea was that the committee would meet, they would review wage and benefit, just like their name, that is being proposed, and that they would be making a recommendation to the county commission regarding those matters. They are elected. It's set out who's in which group, but there's like the department heads is one group. There's another group for the sworn officers. There's another one that I believe it kind of is a function out of who used to be in the courthouse and which areas as well. But there are different groups that are identified, and so they can put their name in the hat. They contact me, let me know that they're interested in serving on the Wage and Benefit Committee, and then the people from those areas from whence they would represent vote on them. So it's not all employees in the organization voting on each member. It's just you vote on those that would represent your group.
Okay. The other question I had, I wanted to get a little bit of background about what they're requesting of you and what you're having to do on this CARES Act funding. I was in your office for, oh gosh, it might have been a couple hours the other morning, and we were discussing that kind of at length and the end goal. There was one thing, did you say December 2nd, or was it December 7th that we were trying to get all of this stuff finished up?
December 7th is
7th,
what our
okay.
goal is.
Okay, I just misheard you then on this one. I thought it was December 7th, and I was afraid I had told an organization the wrong date. So
December 7th
I was going to have to come back, but now I don't.
And if there's, I'm sorry, if I may, regarding that, what we've asked is we've got to have goals, and so we can get it submitted. But if they have a real need or issue, then we've just invited them to call me and chat with me about what's going on, and so we can kind of help them move
Very
along.
good. Very good. I will say that one of my businesses was a recipient of some of the CARES Act in terms of some funding that was given to the Downtown Hayes Development Corporation, and now we have hand sanitizers all over our Strand building. So, while people are in there, it's a quick and easy way to try and disinfect. And Okay, and then the last thing is the discussion about the extraterritorial jurisdiction.
Yes.
It's something that us three have talked in length about, especially on our road tours and things of that nature. You know, I live in Hayes. I live right up by one of the roads that I know that we had earmarked as what we wanted to attack with our $5.4 million bond, and it's at 48th Street. I believe from talking to Bill that the city of Hayes annexed half of that road. So we just have the north end, they have the south end, and that road is in bad shape, and it has a lot of traffic on it. My hope was in the coming months, if it would be okay for the other commissioners, is for me to go to a city meeting, discuss the idea of a shared cost in fixing that, and then as that was finished with our $5.4 million bond, a request that they annex the rest of the road and that it become a city of Hayes property. You know, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I figure a commission meeting is probably the best way to start that process, and then at least we'd know what we're looking at as we go forward with that bond, see where the city commissioners are at on it.
I know when we talk about the ETJ,
Yeah.
I think they have all the control, we have all the maintenance and expense.
I know.
That's not a good situation.
Yeah.
I think we should have a discussion if we even want to retain the ETJ.
Okay. Well, and I think that in my discussions with them, the big situation is they never want to take over a problem, even though it's a lot of Hayes residents that are driving on that problem. But if we can work together to give them a solution, which is a new road, that a well done road that's going to hold for a lengthy period of time, then I think we're in good shape, or we can at least start mitigating some of these financial risks that we're taking on in the ETJ. But yeah, it could be a consideration for the long term is, you know, in that why are we taking on risk and never having any control?
Sure. You know, and even when we're looking at the landfill expansion, I believe Bill Ring had to get waivers to do some of the things. It's our property, but it's in the ETJ. And then again, and it costs us money to do those waivers even. So, you know, there's just a lot of things there I think are kind of stupid.
You'd think they would
a big fan of the
waive some of
CCJ.
that.
Yeah. I'm just not a big fan of it at this point, but that's another discussion.
Okay. Well, I think if we go, that 48th Street project just seems to be one that carries a ton of traffic, especially now. And it's going to get beat to death with their Vine Street corridor project. I have no doubt, because I personally avoid Vine Street as they're doing this construction and therefore hit that road a lot more often. But, you know, I thought it might be a good olive branch to start that discussion with them. How can we go together to share costs, and then how can we get rid of that risk at the end for the county's perspective?
I had multiple realtors call me this last week, maybe some of them called JD, that's why he brought it up about the 3 mile zone. They want to know why we have a 3 mile zone. Every one of them said the same thing, why don't you knock it down to a mile around the city limits, and that's it. You know, building outside of that, there's a good chance, until they fill up inside that mile around the city limits, will take forever. It's like one realtor told me yesterday, he said it's going to take 20-plus years, if not longer, to fill all them voids for housing. And we don't have a county inspector, so I have a 3 mile zone. I mean, and we as the commission can dissolve that to whatever we want, if we want it to be a 1 mile zone or a half a mile zone around the city.
That's another discussion, Dean.
And I
think
think it needs to be looked at. I know, like I said, Bill Ring, I know he faced some issues trying to do our own landfill, you know, and it went. Still not done. Oh, it's not? Oh, it's just like that. I mean,
Yeah.
what are we doing?
Yeah.
Knock it down to a half a mile around the city limits or a mile around the city limits and call it good.
Yeah, I think over the next few weeks, that might be good discussion to have. I'll talk to the city commissioners I know, tell them what's kind of on our mind and what we think is beneficial, mutually beneficial, because I think mutual beneficiality is important. 22,000 of the 28,000 citizens of Ellis County are Hayes residents. So, but yeah, I think we've got to get it where the finances of the county can be controlled better, and little things like that I think maybe are just an indication of their need to kind of lessen some of that burdensome regulation on us, and especially as a fellow government entity. They're dumping their trash out at our landfill, and we're just trying to make room for that.
It's no different than a portion of 13th Street, and Bill will attest to that. There's a portion of 13th Street from basically right on the other side of Hayes High to Commerce we maintain, but the city owns Commerce Parkway.
Yeah.
Now, why are we maintaining that little stretch for when all these new houses are being built? We have, why are we maintaining it?
Yeah, selective annexation can really get us in a pickle at the county level. There's no doubt about that.
Well, we'll have more of that discussion in
Very
upcoming
well.
times.
Thanks.
County Commissioner reports. Commissioner Hazelhorse.
That's what I was going to report on after JD brought it up, so I'm done.
Commissioner Roth.
Just a couple things. Get out and vote tomorrow. I think, the discussion that I've had with people about voting is more of, if you need a professional athlete to tell you to go vote, you probably shouldn't go vote. One of my favorite analogies is a Pete Rose analogy, and I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan, which is an odd thing out in western Kansas. But his saying was, "I'll walk through hell in a gasoline suit to play baseball." And I think if you don't feel that way about voting and how important it is to you and your life and your ability to be sovereign as a nation, then you're probably not organized enough or understanding enough to cast a vote. I want you to learn about the candidates. I want you to learn about policy, and I want you to go in. The one thing that they have said is make a plan and go vote, and I think that's important. Make a plan. Learn who you're going to vote for. Don't just show up at the polls and then be lost on that ballot. So I want everybody to get out and vote. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else.
Okay. And I have no report. Okay, executive sessions. Let's see. We're doing one with Public Works.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll do Darren first.
No, we'll do Public Works first.
I don't
I'm-
have it in front of
I'll
me.
make a motion to go into executive session for 20 minutes related to non-elective personnel issues regarding applications for Public Works Director. Included in the meeting would be the Board of Commissioners, Councilor Jeter, Administrator Cox, and Public Works Director Ring.
I second that.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
before you adjourn about that date?
Oh, we can do that.
I'm sorry, I did not mention it. That was my error.
Okay, yeah, you got his form for my badge?
Yep.
Okay, no action is taken. And I'll make a motion, we go into executive session for 30 minutes to discuss non-elective personnel issues. Included in the meeting would be the Board of Commissioners, Councilor Jeter, and Darren Myers.
I second that.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 2-0. Okay, and there's no action. And then before we adjourn, I just want to say we're going to have a special meeting to start the election canvass on Thursday, November 12th at 9 a.m.
I thought it was at 7 and Dustin was bringing breakfast.
You can bring breakfast at 9.
You will bring breakfast
Yeah.
on? Cinnamon rolls? Okay.
You know, McDonald's got pretty good cinnamon rolls now. They got them back
Cinnamons
on.
are great. No
Yeah,
kidding.
got
I
them
love
back
them.
on the menu. Yeah,
But you still can't beat $1 sausage McMuffin.
yeah.
And a
What was
large
that
ice.
date, Butch? November 12th?
November 12th.
Yeah, 12th.
A Thursday.
At 9.
Thank you, Butch.
And then will you have my badge ready for me Wednesday morning, or what? Okay. Because I don't want Bert
Bless
to
you.
get upset with me.
As soon as I get your paperwork.
Bill, do you want this lease agreement?
I'm filling
Do
it
we need
out
to
right
sign that
now.
or not?
Good.
Butch did.
Oh, nobody else does, just you? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Great. Guys, have a good week.